Cleopatra's lost tomb is hidden somewhere.
The location of Cleopatra's tomb is one of the greatest mysteries of the ancient world.
Studying the area, I realized that it was the perfect place, Cleopatra's tomb.
For over 2,000 years, Cleopatra's final resting place remained one of history's greatest mysteries. Countless expeditions failed. Until now, what has been uncovered is not just a tomb, but something far more unsettling. Imagine a burial chamber that emits vibrations, sealed with ancient symbols and warnings of danger. This isn't merely a place of death, but a structure that seems alive, built to protect or to threaten. Was Cleopatra's tomb designed as a message through time, or a trap meant to endure forever? The answer may change history itself. The unseen pulse beneath the sand. For decades, the search for Cleopatra's final resting place seemed destined to remain unsolved. Ancient texts offered hints, but repeated expeditions found nothing. Then, in the early 1970s, a Soviet seismic team searching for oil detected something unusual beneath the Egyptian desert near Lake Mariout, southwest of Alexandria. A steady vibration repeating every 42 seconds. The rhythm was too precise to resemble natural seismic activity, leaving researchers deeply unsettled.
Kathleen Martinez was granted a temporary license to dig at Taposiris Magna.
Local villagers called the area Abal Nafas, the place that breathes. Despite this, the anomaly was largely ignored for years due to political tensions and limited funding. Only decades later, with the rise of satellite imaging, did scientists return to the data. Thermal scans and radar revealed symmetrical underground formations, sharp lines, and shapes that strongly suggested artificial construction rather than geology. When researchers overlaid these formations onto a digital grid, the pattern was unmistakable: an Ankh, the Egyptian symbol of life. This hidden image, invisible on the surface, pointed toward a deliberately designed structure buried beneath shifting sands. Even more striking, the formations aligned with a plateau historically associated with Isis, the goddess Cleopatra, claimed as her divine identity. What had once been legend now appeared supported by measurable evidence. Soil samples strengthened the case. Traces of ancient plaster and bitumen, materials used to seal royal chambers, were found deep underground, where untouched layers of sand should have existed. The persistent 42-second pulse raised troubling questions. What could generate such a precise signal for centuries? Some scientists argued for rare geological explanations, but others suspected an intentional mechanism, possibly a message or warning left behind. Further investigation used drones and nighttime thermal imaging. Beneath the dunes, residual heat revealed curved corridors and rectangular layouts matching known temple designs from Cleopatra's era. The scale suggested a vast, undisturbed complex, potentially the largest royal structure ever discovered. Yet, without excavation, the truth remained sealed beneath the desert. The camp experienced anxiety when actual digging operations commenced. Security footage displayed sand movement, which matched underground seismic activity because it created subtle surface disturbances that neither wind nor surface activities caused. The desert appeared to breathe, which confirmed local legends about an ancient entity that was beginning to awaken. Superstition, which people used to dismiss, now become an unsettling reality. Dr. Kathleen Martinez received her assignment from the Egyptian Ministry of Tourism and Antiquities to conduct the archaeological dig. The data analysis led her to determine that the vibrations occurred because of unintentional activities. The site, which potentially belonged to Cleopatra, contained design elements that would maintain concealment until any disturbance occurred. The excavation discovered smooth, carved stone, which proved that the tomb existed as a concealed, protected burial site. The rhythmic pulse produced a sensation that resembled a heartbeat because it functioned as an enduring system that would last for thousands of years. Cleopatra's burial space existed to share knowledge with future generations by showing people both her existence and her burial site. The hidden pulse functioned as the main element. The structure contained elements that connected scientific knowledge with mythical beliefs and divine authority, which would reveal new information about Egypt's last queen. Hope stirred quietly alongside tension as the team prepared to uncover the temple entwined with this pulse, a doorway bridging life and death. The Temple of Osiris revealed. Once the stone beneath the sands emerged, it quickly became clear that the discovery was no ordinary ruin. The site identified itself with unmistakable inscriptions as Taposiris Magna, the great tomb of Osiris. In ancient Egyptian belief, Osiris was the god of resurrection and the ruler of the underworld.
As either the ruler of the underworld or a god of fertility and growth.
The divine judge granting eternal life after death. Finding a temple dedicated to him beneath the desert was a profound clue, suggesting a sacred purpose tied to rebirth and divine power rather than mere mortuary function. For decades, some historians speculated that Cleopatra might have chosen this temple region for her burial precisely because of its spiritual significance. Cleopatra, famously identifying herself as the living embodiment of Isis, Osiris's wife and goddess of magic and rebirth, would have aimed to be laid to rest beside him. Their union symbolized eternal life and cosmic balance, making the temple's location about 45 kilometers from Alexandria especially meaningful. It aligned perfectly with ancient records, placing Cleopatra in that area during her final days. The excavation site featured crumbling but imposing architecture, fallen columns, toppled gateways, and stone walls etched with carvings that had survived centuries of erosion. Most intriguing was the dual-language inscription system intact on the walls. Both Egyptian hieroglyphs and ancient Greek script appeared with equal care and precision. This bilingualism was rare in sacred spaces and immediately indicated royal endorsement and a deliberate integration of two distinct cultures. Dr. Kathleen Martinez recognized this fusion as a reflection of Cleopatra's own identity. She was a ruler at the crossroads of worlds, the Greek-speaking elite ruling Egypt, and the native Egyptian priesthood guarding the spiritual tradition. The temple embodied this balance, blending Hellenistic influence with deep Egyptian ritual significance. It was a place where political power met divine mysticism, framed in stone and language that both worlds understood. The discovery of nearby artifacts brought additional information to the temple, which contains its historical narrative. The coins that bear Cleopatra's image existed near the statues of Isis, who possesses a falcon, which represents renewal and rebirth. Chemical analyses detected traces of blue lotus resin and bitumen on an altar, substances traditionally used in royal embalming rituals, lifting the veil on ceremonies that might have been performed here. The workers recognized the significant value of the objects because they maintained their sacredness by remaining silent while doing their work with relics that had been untouched for more than 20 centuries. A strange phenomenon deepened the temple's mysteries. Ground sensors recorded a low-frequency hum that rose from the earth beneath the limestone. Humans cannot hear this sound, yet it produces slow, repeating waves, which generate pulses that occur every 42 seconds and follow the same rhythm that previous measurements of the vibration anomaly had shown. The temple emitted this vibration as a continuous sound that did not stop, but rather persisted throughout the entire building. The temple team members reported that they experienced weak tremors, which occurred underneath their feet, because they believed that the temple maintained a hidden heartbeat that still functioned. The temple functioned as more than a burial site because its signs showed its actual location, and its artifacts, inscriptions, and vibrations proved its existence. The structure functioned as an entrance that connected both the living and deceased worlds, while its design presented the concept of eternal life through resurrection. The sacred site functioned as a spiritual lighthouse that transmitted its message through symbols, sounds, and religious ceremonies. The temple's dual language, its rare artifacts, and the continuous rhythmic pulse showed that Cleopatra's burial here served as more than a simple gravesite. The complex functioned as a dynamic system which maintained its operation to show the queen's control over her empire during her life and after her death. The hidden chambers deep below the temple held more valuable information than the visible statue-lined halls and carved walls. The subterranean passages transmitted vibrations, which revealed a secret that had been safeguarded, yet the discovery would transform our current knowledge about Egypt's last queen. This subtle but eerie pulse is where the story's tension tightened, pulling the team forward into concealed corridors and the heart of Cleopatra's legacy. Dual language inscriptions and symbols. One of the most striking discoveries during the excavation was the presence of inscriptions carved side by side in Egyptian hieroglyphs and ancient Greek. This bilingual presentation was unusual for an Egyptian temple, especially in sacred spaces traditionally reserved for Egyptian religious texts. The equal precision and care with which both languages were inscribed suggested explicit royal sanction, serving as a cultural bridge that represented Cleopatra's unique position as both a Hellenistic ruler and an Egyptian goddess. Cleopatra was descended from the Macedonian Greek Ptolemaic dynasty, but she embraced and promoted Egyptian customs and religion, deliberately identifying herself as the living incarnation of Isis. This dual identity allowed her to govern Egypt effectively by appealing to both native priests and Greek-speaking aristocracy. The temple's carvings reflected this political and spiritual balance, using language as a tool to unify divergent worlds and ensure her legacy spoke to all Egyptians.
Cleopatra, and at one time the most powerful woman in the world.
Among the symbols carved on temple walls and within the newly revealed chambers were patterns involving the Ankh, the ancient Egyptian symbol of life and rebirth. The Ankh's appearance in the data from the limestone ridge and in the temple's layout suggested that the very architecture was a deliberate act of symbolism. The temple itself was designed as a monumental statement of eternal life, extending beyond Cleopatra's reign into the spiritual realm. Nearby, coins bearing Cleopatra's image were discovered alongside statues depicting Isis bearing the falcon, a symbol connected to renewal and divine kingship. The combination highlighted the fusion of political propaganda and spiritual affirmation that permeated the site. These artifacts and inscriptions laid bare the narrative Cleopatra promoted, a story not only of power, but of divine right and cosmic order. Chemical traces of royal embalming materials on altars and within temple soils further underscored the sacredness of the space. Materials like bitumen and blue lotus resin, rarely found outside of state funerary contexts, were present, indicating that sophisticated burial rituals had been undertaken here. Such rituals would have been essential to the transition Cleopatra sought, from mortal queen to divine immortal. The bilingual texts also contained warnings and cryptic messages repeated throughout the temple and its hidden corridors. Scholars noticed phrases carved in both Greek and Egyptian, cautioning against disturbing the balance, suggesting far more than funerary rites. These inscriptions hinted at a protective mechanism built into the tomb, perhaps the earliest example of a guarded necropolis designed to deter intrusion by supernatural or ritual means. The remarkable engineering of the temple, with its precise inscriptions and symbolic placement, reflected the carefully controlled image Cleopatra cultivated. It was as if she was sending a message across centuries, not only of her reign's importance, but of the power still contained within the tomb and its mechanisms. This fusion of language, art, and ritual, embedded in stone, was the first clue that Cleopatra's burial site was unique. More than a resting place, it was a sealed enigma waiting to be unlocked. The detailed inscriptions laid the foundation for a discovery even more unexpected, an underground corridor that would redefine what we thought possible in ancient engineering and funerary design. The ancient temple's symbols and messages drew the team closer to a labyrinth hidden below, where history and mystery converged in ways no one had imagined. The corridor of rebirth. Beneath the temple, the vibrations led the team to a discovery that defied conventional archaeology. Ground-penetrating radar revealed an underground tunnel carved through solid limestone, stretching straight and smooth for more than a kilometer. Its precision was staggering. No cracks, no signs of erosion, and walls polished almost like glass, as if sealed perfectly since its construction thousands of years ago. The corridor's existence alone challenged assumptions about ancient engineering capabilities. Initially, skepticism ran high among researchers. Could this be a natural cave or a misinterpretation of radar data? But when a small camera was lowered through a narrow borehole, it confirmed what no one had fully expected. A man-made passage with curved ceilings, pristine walls, and no tool marks visible. The tunnel seemed untouched by time, a perfect channel cutting beneath the temple, its purpose cloaked in mystery. Inscribed along the walls in both Greek and Egyptian, a repeated word appeared, Ankh, meaning life renewed. Archaeologist Dr. Kathleen Martinez suggested this was more than decoration. It was a ritual passage designed to escort the dead through a symbolic resurrection. The corridor acted as a liminal space between the temple above and whatever lay beyond, emphasizing the belief that death was not an end but a transformation. Following the tunnel deeper, the team encountered a sealed chamber detected by thermal scans. The cavity measured roughly 20 meters across and displayed a higher temperature than the surrounding rock.
The data from the scan for analysis, it should reveal any hollow cavities hidden underground.
As if it had once been subjected to intense heat. Cutting through the final barrier wasn't a simple task. Beneath the stone, the sounds were less like cracking rock and more like a low, persistent vibration felt deep in their chests. When the wall finally gave way, a burst of stale, cold air escaped, carrying a sharp scent of resin and metal, evidence of something trapped for centuries. The chamber's walls were not mere stone, but coated in a black, glassy layer, resembling melted rock or vitrified surfaces. This mysterious shell reflected the team's flashlights eerily, as if the room had been forged in fire long ago. The ceiling structure displayed hundreds of tiny blue stones, which formed star-like patterns when viewed from above. The material was identified as lapis lazuli, which serves as a rare and precious mineral that only royal family members and sacred artifacts can use. The artwork portrayed the goddess Isis, who stood above Osiris while their connection showed through beams of light. The celestial mosaic functioned as more than decorative art because it presented a cosmic narrative, which artists expressed through stone carvings that showed divine resurrection and continuous life and death cycles. The beautiful chamber space created a peaceful atmosphere, which actually hid an evil secret. The wall carvings displayed repeated warnings, which used Greek and Egyptian languages to show that disturb the union and the balance shall break, and blood shall drip from the left eye down. The inscriptions revealed a curse or ritual demand that required the tomb to remain undisturbed in order to maintain its sacred balance. The team became silent because the warnings increased the danger level from discovery to actual risk. Every corner showed evidence of meticulous sealing work. The plaster contained mercury and lead veins, which spread through the material, while resin produced a faint smell that lingered throughout the space. The site contained broken jars and a small golden scarab, which bore an inscription to bind the soul to its body, and the evident presence of ritual containment that created a complex narrative which exceeded the normal storytelling boundaries of a burial chamber. The site existed to honor the deceased, but its actual purpose was to restrain something. Team members experienced increased vibrations because they studied the architectural design elements of the chamber. The pulse, which had been present since the first desert surveys, now appeared to rise from the ground. The stone no longer remained quiet because it had transformed into an active entity that reacted to their presence. The corridor of rebirth revealed itself as a threshold that connected two different realms because it showed how life, death, and the unknown blended through processes that people still lacked complete knowledge about. The chamber's silent hum led the explorers to a final, more chilling discovery that would rewrite their understanding of Cleopatra's tomb and the forces at play beneath it. The eerie stillness of the black glass chamber was just the prelude to what lay inside the tomb's heart, the vessel that held both answers and profound mysteries. The black glassy chamber. The sealed chamber beyond the tunnel was unlike any burial site archaeologists had encountered. Its walls, coated with a glossy black layer resembling molten glass, reflected their lights in unsettling ways, as if the stone had been fused by intense heat. This vitrification was mysterious, suggesting technology or events far beyond typical ancient methods. Embedded across the ceiling were hundreds of small stones made of lapis lazuli, arranged carefully to depict the goddess Isis, standing protectively over Osiris. This celestial tableau signified divine resurrection and cosmic balance in vivid detail. Yet the beauty was shadowed by disturbing warnings inscribed repeatedly along the chamber's walls in both Greek and Egyptian. Phrases such as, "Disturb the union, and the balance shall break," and "Blood shall drip from the left eye down," spoke of curses, ritual punishments, or other worldly consequences for those who dared interfere. The team fell silent, sensing that this chamber was more than a resting place. It was a warning enshrined in stone. Further examination revealed veins of mercury and lead running through the plaster, substances often used in ancient Egypt's sacred sealing processes. The sharp scent of resin lingered, and fragments of broken jars littered the corners. Near one column lay a small golden scarab engraved with a prayer, "Bind the soul to its body." Such details pointed to a sophisticated ritual, not just for burial but for containment, possibly to imprison a powerful force. At the center of the chamber stood a raised platform of fused stone, bearing the marks of intense heat. On it rested two ceramic jars, glazed, as if scorched by fire. Between them lay an enigmatic bronze cylinder, about the length of a forearm, decorated with spirals shimmering in the light. One researcher noticed an etched tear on its surface, matching the omen carved on the walls about blood dripping from the left eye. The cylinder pulsed faintly with a vibration synchronized to the 42-second rhythm that permeated the entire site. As Dr. Martinez approached the platform, the floor trembled slightly underfoot. The pulse grew stronger, palpable enough that some team members stepped back. The chamber seemed to awaken, pressing physically against their chests, as if alive. The archaeology shifted from excavation to a surreal encounter with something ancient and potent, eliciting a deep unease rarely felt in such scientific work. The chamber was clearly built not to display the dead, but to restrain them. Reports describe the atmosphere as oppressive, heavy with unseen energy. This environmental response to their presence suggested that the tomb was more than a final resting place. It was a living mechanism, perhaps a safeguard against forces still poorly understood. Behind its barred silence, the chamber posed profound questions. What was sealed inside? What force demanded such extraordinary care and protection? And what price might be paid for disturbing this union? With each scan, data pointed deeper beneath the limestone foundations, hinting at secrets yet to be unveiled.
Even the location of Cleopatra's burial chamber, archaeologists to open up the wrappings.
This black vitrified vault was a threshold, a gateway where mythology, ritual, and forgotten science converged. It promised answers about Cleopatra's death and legacy, but also warned of dangers that would ripple far beyond the archaeological site. How the team would respond next would set the stage for revelations that would challenge history itself and reshape our understanding of ancient power. As the pulse echoed from the sealed chamber, the tomb's heart began to reveal not only royal remains, but a voice from the past with a message still vibrating through time. The twin mummies and vibrating artifact. When the team breached the black glassy chamber, they encountered a massive sarcophagus carved from a single block of black granite. Its surface reflected light like oil, and the lid was sealed with a hardened mixture of resin and lead. As the crane slowly lifted it, deep echoes filled the chamber, as if something long dormant had been disturbed. A surge of warm air escaped, carrying a suffocating stench of resin, ammonia, and decay. Sensors detected dangerously high levels of toxic gases trapped inside for nearly 2,000 years, forcing the team into emergency protocols. What should have been a historic breakthrough quickly became a hazardous operation. Inside lay two mummies wrapped in thick linen threaded with gold, their funerary masks partially fused into the fabric. The bodies rested side by side, and between their clasped arms was the bronze cylinder discovered earlier. The device vibrated faintly, pulsing in perfect alignment with the tomb's recurring 42-second rhythm, linking the mummies directly to the site's strange energy. The male mummy showed partial decomposition, but his chest revealed something far more disturbing. His ribs had been forced outward, exposing a cavity filled with hardened resin mixed with mercury. This was not preservation, but deliberate sealing, possibly intended to trap or contain something associated with him. Such a method had no precedent in known Egyptian burial rituals. The female mummy was preserved better than other mummies, but showed signs of advanced aging. Her body was covered with wrappings that turned bronze and developed cracks over time, but still contained multiple decorative items. The most impressive item was a pendant, which hung above her heart and showed an image of a winged woman who represented Isis, the goddess whom Cleopatra showed special affection for. A bracelet, which took the form of a raised cobra design wrapped around her wrist to show both royal protection and death. The team felt disturbed by the symbols that explained the situation. The emblem was displayed at a conspicuous location because it showed how Cleopatra died through snakebite.
Legend has it that Cleopatra committed suicide with the bite of a venomous snake.
Dr. Martinez confirmed her identity by saying, "It is her." The DNA analysis performed later showed both mummies descended from royal ancestry, which matched Cleopatra's family tree. The vibrating chamber caused the floor to produce a humming sound which traveled through their boots. The sarcophagus functioned like a tomb, which transformed into a machine that reacted to people who entered its space. The crew members experienced two different reactions to the situation, with one group feeling engine-like warmth, while the other group stayed outside because they sensed an invisible presence that was about to awake. The security sealed the chamber after completion, but one question remained, which asked whether the site served as a burial space or a structure built to maintain equilibrium between existence, termination, and authority. The discovery showed Cleopatra's tomb functioned as a burial site that operated as a complex system that combined ritual practices, chemical processes, and ancient spiritual beliefs to create an enigmatic phenomenon that still operated at that time. The chilling presence within the sarcophagus led the team onward, toward chambers heavier with silence, yet crowded by the unseen guardians of the dead. The Circle of the Dead. Beyond the central tomb, a narrow passage forced the team forward with sealed respirators and extreme caution. It opened into a circular chamber lined with shallow stone shelves. On each rested a single human skull, 36 in total. There were 12 male, 12 female, and 12 children's skulls, all upright and arranged with disturbing precision. No bodies or coffins accompanied them, only silent faces turned toward the center of the room. Each skull was dusted with fine gold powder that shimmered under the team's lights. Tests later revealed traces of blue lotus resin, the same substance used in the embalming chambers, confirming the skulls were intentionally prepared. Their missing lower jaws suggested a ritual purpose, possibly meant to prevent speech or symbolic resurrection. These were not random remains, but carefully selected components of a deliberate design. At the center stood a low stone platform carved with an ankh, the symbol of life and immortality. On it rested two bronze cups fused by intense heat. One still contained blackened residue, later identified as human blood. Surrounding inscriptions in Greek and Egyptian read, "They guard the passage and keep the balance." Some scholars interpreted this as a prayer to Isis, while others believed it was a warning. Rather than honoring the dead, the chamber appeared to function as a containment system. The skulls seemed to act as guardians, restraining whatever lay beyond or beneath the tomb. Their perfect numerical symmetry suggested the room was engineered to maintain balance, not memory. Sensors installed inside soon registered low electromagnetic pulses rising and falling in the same 42-second rhythm found elsewhere in the site. Team members reported pressure behind their eyes, metallic tastes, and buzzing sensations, symptoms associated with electromagnetic exposure. The atmosphere felt charged, as if the chamber itself were active. When Dr. Martinez entered, she immediately reported tasting metal and ordered the room sealed. Her final recorded words before communications were cut: "This is not a tomb. It is a mechanism made of death." Within hours, documents were classified and debate erupted. Some experts demanded permanent sealing, while others pushed for continued study. Yet a growing number asked a darker question: had opening the chamber disrupted a system that was never meant to be disturbed? If these 36 skulls truly served as guardians, Cleopatra's tomb was not a monument to death, but a device built from it, designed to keep something powerful in check. The silent circle of skulls stood as a grim sentinel to a secret Cleopatra's tomb harbored, one that stretched the limits of belief and challenged the very nature of death and legacy. The tomb's purpose and legacy. The discoveries beneath Taposiris Magna revealed a tomb far more complex than a simple burial site. It appears to be a system designed to maintain power and balance long after Cleopatra's death. Central to this is the rhythmic pulse recorded throughout the structure, repeating every 42 seconds. In ancient Egyptian belief, 42 symbolized the judges of the afterlife, linking the tomb's design to cosmic judgment and spiritual order. This suggests the tomb's architecture was intentionally symbolic, embedding metaphysical meaning into its very structure. Researchers now believe Cleopatra's burial was engineered not just for honor or preservation, but as a protective mechanism. The arranged skulls, bilingual warnings, and vibration-emitting artifacts imply the tomb functioned as a safeguard or containment system. Whether it was meant to restrain a spiritual force, a curse, or a form of unknown technology remains unclear, but the intent seems to have been defensive, reacting to intrusion and protecting something deemed powerful or dangerous. This interpretation challenges traditional views of ancient burial practices. Cleopatra's strategic intelligence as a ruler designed her tomb to maintain her power after her death. Her reign required mastery of both politics and mysticism, and a self-sustaining tomb aligns with her image as a ruler who planned far beyond her lifetime. Many historians now view the site as a dynamic spiritual engine instead of a dormant burial ground. The inscriptions and materials of the site create a system that maintains balance between life and death through its three principles of harmony, warning, and equilibrium. The researchers experience physical reactions to increasing vibrations, which supports the belief that the tomb maintains its responsive capacity. The investigation leads to disturbing answers about Cleopatra's knowledge of lost knowledge and advanced technologies. The tomb functioned as a threefold entity that served as a spiritual device, a symbolic warning, and a weaponized monument. The question about Cleopatra's tomb discovery leads to a deeper inquiry about its contents, which include either secrets or power, or a final expression of authority meant to last through time. The sealed site now stands as a challenge to modern understanding, which creates a boundary between historical facts and mythical elements and unexplored territories. Cleopatra's tomb is no ordinary relic of the past. It's a living mystery that still challenges everything we know about power, death, and legacy. What do you think Cleopatra was truly protecting? Share your theories in the comments. If this journey through history intrigued you, don't forget to like and subscribe so you never miss the next discovery. And when this video ends, tap the one appearing on your screen to continue uncovering the secrets hidden beneath the sands. Thanks for watching. We'll see you in the next one.